So we get a question that comes in fairly frequently. In fact, yesterday I spent a good amount of time working with the New Dream Center in Central Arizona on this question, and the question has to do with board development. So sometimes the question is, how many board members should I have? Who should be on that board of directors? One of the more challenging ones is, what should I make my board of directors pay money to be on the board? Should I have a required financial offering for them? Now, if you go out there and you Google board development, it's gonna come up with some scenarios and some ideas of what your board should look like that are pretty harrowing sometimes, quite frankly. You look at some of those things of what boards should be doing, and it's oftentimes you find yourself so far away from what the reality is of your board, and it can be kind of discouraging. Let me just clarify briefly. So most dream centers, we're not your typical nonprofit. You know that, you work for one. We're not your typical nonprofit. We are technically in a categorization called parachurch organizations. And so dream centers have this very unique, all throughout our agencies, blend of, we're somewhat of a 501, like a nonprofit. We're a 501, but we're somewhat of a nonprofit, but we're also a little bit of a church. And so that blend is called a parachurch organization. So parachurch boards often look quite a bit different than full-on church board, which is typically deacons and elders and persons in the church who are close to the pastor, or different than a nonprofit board, which is your typical sort of retired professionals and people who contribute to the board and different things. So don't be discouraged that your board is not engaged or that they're not supporting you financially. Now, what I'm about to roll out to you is not a common practice among nonprofits. It's good practice. We found that it works. We found that it works very well for us in Los Angeles, works very well for us in Phoenix, and the different sites that we have here in Arizona. And so we, as crazy as this might sound, we don't just have one board of directors. We have three. And so, and it's not like they're not subcommittees or just parts of one board. We actually have three separate legal entities. And let me explain why. Well, let me explain what first. So we have what we consider to be an operating ministry board, and that is the sort of central board of directors that we have. These board members, we have 5 to 6 of them at different times. They are legally attached to City Help Incorporated, doing business as the Phoenix Dream Center. We could talk about a corporation in another blog. So that core board member DNA are people who are very close to me, not relatives, not personal relatives or anything like that, but just people who are dear to myself, dear to our founder, Pastor Tommy, and honestly who they're truly invested in our church and in our mission at the Dream Center. And so even in our bylaws, which you can get a copy of if you write to us, even in our bylaws we have that these members need to, at any given time, 80% of those members need to be in good standing of our church. And that's more than just going to church, it's membership. It's, are they clear on the vision and what we're doing? Now, this board makes the legal decisions about the Dream Center, about our finances, about our hiring of our higher level people. They don't do the hiring, I do, but they make the decisions on the budget and things. So this board is a key and a core board. We meet once a month. We go over our financials. We go over program data. Whenever we want to start a new ministry or acquire a new property, this is the legal entity, the legal board that makes those decisions. And these people are all very, very close. Now, we do not, at this level, in our board development, we don't put a financial requirement on these board members, partly because they're a part of our legacy planning. They're a part of our long-term ensuring that the Dream Center will always, forever, in perpetuity, be dedicated to its core mission. So these people are more mission-driven than they are like finance and marketing and fundraising vision. They're not driven that way. However, I will say that because these individuals are so dedicated to the mission and the vision of the Dream Center, they're still influential people in our community, and they greatly, at their own cost, at their own prompting, they greatly give of their own resources. They greatly give of their own assets, and some of them have businesses that they leverage to help the Dream Center. Of course, it's all documented, it's all reported, it's all above board. But that's kind of our number one board. That's the core legal entity board. Now, I say this a bit as a warning, but also a bit as a learn from what we've learned from, is that that board, you don't necessarily want the who's who of your community on that board. First of all, that board comes with a certain amount of risk personally to the officers. Now, you have insurance, you carry insurance, of course, and all that, but it's risky. It's what we do is risky business. We have people dying and on drugs, and people hurt, and people that have been raped and have STDs, and just crazy. I mean, it's crazy. Like, it's crazy. So you don't necessarily want everybody. The thing I'll say, and I say this with a heavy heart, that I have been absolutely burned and hurt and hoodwinked by very successful people in our community who meant well. I believe they meant well, but and I think it's because of the nature of what makes them successful in business is that they're very driven, and they're very micro-focused, and they're very hands-on, and they're very want to get into the details, and they're very controlling. And what I'll say is some of those characteristics that make some of these men and women successful in business are characteristics that you honestly don't want on your board. Not that you don't want a covering, not that you don't want accountability, you do, but you don't want someone to get on your board, poison your board against you or against the ministry, try to take over control, try to remove finances and you don't want that. I've been through that. But you do want those people a part of your dream. You want those people. You need those people's resources. You need their input. They're very valuable in their field and in your community, and so you want them. So what we've done to mitigate a little bit of the risk, but also to allow them to have a platform to be a part of the Dream Center board, we started a separate board, a Dream Center Foundation board. It is a separate, at first it was an LLC, then it transitioned into an actual 501. So there's the Phoenix Dream Center Board of Directors, and then there's the Phoenix Dream Center Foundation Board of Directors. Now, our foundation board of directors, you can check on our website. We list all board members, but they're the who's who of our community. These are the rock stars of our community, and the business leaders and the politicians and the people that everybody wants who are on that board. Now, one of the things that's very appealing to them is that they're not on a board. You're not asking them to be on a board that has to meet every month and make legal decisions, and they're a part of a foundation board which is only charged to do one thing, and that's push forward the brand of the Dream Center, to raise money for the Dream Center, to do special projects for the Dream Center. My foundation board meets once a year, but those 12 members on that board, I have ongoing projects with them all through the year. But honestly, when it comes down to it, they're not the ones making legal decisions for the Dream Center. They're not the ones getting into all the programming stuff and the details, because they have a different agenda. They have a different set going on. So level number one, our core board of directors. Level number two, our foundation board of directors, very important. And then level number three, and this will come as a shock to you, but the Dream Center, the Phoenix Dream Center, actually owns nothing, virtually nothing. We don't own the building, we don't own the properties that we're at, we don't own any of it. And it's part of an incorporated strategy that we rolled out many years ago to protect the assets of the Dream Center and to protect our church. We're going to do another blog on that, but that entity that is a title holding entity that holds the titles to our different properties and the large assets that we have, that entity has a board of directors as well. And now they are just a once a year, they kind of vote, push things through. They don't really do anything other than hold the titles to the properties. So they'll set some limits on me of, like, if I want to do more than $100,000 worth of remodeling, since it's their property, we work that out. But again, these are just a small board, 4 or 5 people that actually control the titles to the property. Same sort of DNA of that first board. 80% of them need to be good standing members of our community, and so they're invested in the long term. They're not going to sell it out from under us or anything like that, but that's how we handle the 3 different boards of directors. One little added nugget here: as you're out there fundraising and doing grants, as a parachurch organization, you'll have religious tones in your bylaws most of the time. You'll have church services and things. You will run across government entities and private grant foundations and individuals, and even some corporate sponsors who they just in their rules, they may love you, may love the work you're doing, you may be fully aligned with their mission, but because you're a church or a parachurch organization, they may just have a rule that they can't give money to you. And it's no offense, it's not that they hate Jesus, they may love him very much, but they've just found that, and what I've found is that quite frankly, they've gotten in trouble at some point in their history with religious organizations versus not, and so they've just had to adopt a policy of, okay, we just don't do this. Don't take offense by that. Work the problem, right? Like, work the solution, work toward a solution. And so one of the added benefits of having that Dream Center Foundation board, that separate legal entity, is that it can work. If they agree to it, if they are agreeing to it, it can work as a middle entity between that grant entity and yourself. And so our Phoenix Dream Center Foundation board is not a parachurch organization. They are an equal opportunity employer. We talked about that in another video. They meet all of the requirements of some of these entities that want to give to non-religious organizations. Now, here's the thing: don't do it sneaky, and don't do it like on the side and low key. Do it out in plain sight, in front of everyone, and just say, okay, I'm here. I'm the director of the Dream Center Philadelphia, and I'm working with your foundation, with your football team, or whatever it is, and we want to work together, and you want to give us $10,000 or $5,000 or whatever, but you've told me that it doesn't work in your bylaws to give to a church or religious organization. However, I have a foundation. We have a Dream Center Foundation. We can, with absolute certainty, assure you that dollar for dollar, every dollar you give to this special project in our foundation will go directly to the Dream Center and impact the lives of the Dream Center. If they are okay with that, and if it works with everyone, then that's an amazing way to skip over that. I know for us, just in the last 3 to 4 years, we're talking $500,000 that have come through that path, only because the foundation was like, well, yeah, that actually works for us. We like you guys, and it's just a thing for we just can't give to a church organization, and so yeah, we'll give to the foundation, give us the same receipts, the same reports, the same whatever, that works. And then of course the foundation, though, that they're the ones who they grant it over to the Dream Center. It's a financial sort of a thing, but that's one of the added perks of that. So that's how we do our structure for our different boards, and how many we have. Again, in review, the core sort of a ministry board, keep it small as far as how many people to do. The foundation board of directors, go crazy with that thing, because they don't fundamentally get into your day-to-day details and different things. And then your legal property controlling entity, keep that small as well. Write to us if you want the information of an attorney locally here that is brilliant at church law and all these different things, and protecting your assets of your church and different things. So write to us and we'll get you the information. Good question. God bless you all. We'll see you next time.